disaster. The excited chatter of the waiting MPs was replaced with an expectant hush. Churchill had two pieces of news to impart. He started not with the Normandy landings, but with an account of the liberation of Rome on the previous Sunday, heaping praise on British General Harold Alexander, the Italian theatre commander, whose name was greeted with a tremendous cheer by the assembled politicians. The Prime Minister then proceeded to detail the recent phases of the Italian campaign, from the Anzio landings of January the 22nd to the Allied entry into the Eternal City, coincidentally the 4th anniversary of Churchill's famous Never Surrender speech. No doubt there was an element of theatre in delaying mention of Normandy. Churchill was a consummate parliamentary performer. He knew that his audience was hanging on his every word, waiting anxiously for the first report of the landings. But by delaying, he was also emphasising the equal weight he attached to events in Italy, where the Allied armies were under British command. He saw this memorable and glorious event, the capture of Rome, as vindicating his continuing support for operations in the Mediterranean. Operations that he was keen to stress were ongoing, reporting that the Allied forces, with the Americans in the van, are driving ahead northwards in relentless pursuit of the enemy. Churchill remained keen to maintain combined British-American operations in the Italian peninsula, but feared that the Americans would now give primacy to France and Overlord. Having made his point, he came to the day's main announcement about the landings. His remarks were short, simple and factual. Obviously, there was much he could not say. The situation was still evolving. The fog of war hung over events, and, mindful of security, he did not want to prejudice the landings by giving helpful information to the enemy. Even so, it is worth reiterating his remarks here in full. I have also to announce to the House that during the night and the early hours of this morning, the first of the series of landings in force upon the European continent has taken place. In this case, the liberating assault fell upon the coast of France. An immense armada of upwards of 4,000 ships, together with several thousand smaller craft, crossed the Channel. Massed airborne landings have been successfully effected behind the enemy lines, and landings on the beaches are proceeding at various points at the present time. The fire of the shore batteries has been largely quelled. The obstacles that were constructed in the sea have not proved so difficult as was apprehended. The Anglo-American allies are sustained by about 11,000 first-line aircraft, which can be drawn upon as may be needed for the purposes of the battle. I cannot, of course, commit myself to any particular details. Reports are coming in rapid succession. So far, the commanders who are engaged report that everything is proceeding according to plan. And what a plan! This vast operation is undoubtedly the most complicated and difficult that has ever occurred. It involves tide, wind, waves, visibility, both from the air and the sea standpoint, and the combined employment of land, air and sea forces in the highest degree of intimacy and in contact with conditions which could not and cannot be fully foreseen. There are already hopes that actual tactical surprise has been attained, and we hope to furnish the enemy with a succession of surprises during the course of the fighting. The battle that has now begun will grow constantly in scale and in intensity for many weeks to come, and I shall not attempt to speculate upon its course. This I may say, however. Complete unity prevails throughout the Allied armies. There is a brotherhood in arms between us and our friends of the United States. There is complete confidence in the Supreme Commander, General Eisenhower, and his lieutenants, and also in the commander of the Expeditionary Force, General Montgomery. The ardour and spirit of the troops, as I saw myself embarking in these last few days, was splendid to witness. Nothing that equipment, science or forethought could do has been neglected, and the whole process of opening this great new front will be pursued with the utmost resolution, both by the commanders and by the United States and British governments whom they serve. The passage contains themes to which this book will return: the complexity of the operation, the use of deceptive measures to contain the element of surprise and convince the enemy that this might be the first of several assaults, the unity of the American and British commanders, and the morale and training of the troops. Churchill was right that all were essential for a successful operation on this scale. This first reaction may seem rather short and muted, especially when compared with his famous oratory from 1940. There is no great peroration, no references to finest hour, no promises of blood, toil, tears and sweat.